Hey, my name is Elias. This channel is called Hope Over Despair. I'm 43. I've been struggling with depression since my 20s, so about 2 decades. And I want to create this channel to help you because I know there are other people out there who struggle with depression, and by struggle I mean battle with. Depression is a real thing for you, and you don't like it, and you want to battle it. You want to fight against it. And this evening, I was struggling a little bit. I could feel I was dipping into that state, and there's a couple of reasons why. One is a physical thing. We're at some people's house, and it was his birthday, and I ate some cake because I'm going to celebrate with people. And cake has a lot of sugar in it, as you know. Sugar for me is what I've found a trigger that leads to depression, and I saw it now looking back. But when I consume high amounts of sugar, like refined sugars, it starts changing my mood, going down. It's not good. So I know what to do. I took some berberine, that's helpful, and I know to just kind of let it burn off. So I've talked about berberine before. It just really helps with your blood sugar levels. I'll link it in the description below. I'm not a doctor. This is not a medication. If it helps you, awesome. Don't take this as medical advice. This is just some guy on the internet. This is what helped me. Hopefully it'll help you. What else has helped me? I realized I was thinking wrongly about certain things that people said during the evening, certain things that happened. I'm seeing it in a negative light and a wrong light. But I know that because I've been doing this for years. I've been in this fight for a long time. And so what do? I start telling myself and talking to myself and saying, you're a fool. You're viewing it that way, but that's not necessarily how it happened, right? And don't you worry about how these things happened. We got to fight it. But how do we fight it? We need to read. Do you read much? Maybe you don't. I've got some good books for you. And you don't have to read a bunch every day. Just read a little bit. So I want to share a couple of book ideas with you. And I want to read one poem from a book of collection of poems that has been super helpful for me, especially this one particular poem. And I want to share a couple other books and ideas with you. Most of them are Christian books. One is not really, but I think you'll see how it can really be helpful. So we'll start with that one first. It's this one right here. The Greatest Salesman in the World. Greatest Salesman in the World. Why am I recommending that book? This book is an incredible book because what it does is it builds habits into you. And if we are not structured and orderly, we're not really living as God intended for us to live. God is an orderly God. We are in his image. We should be orderly creatures. And when we are more orderly, I'm not saying your life needs to be, like anally orderly, but when we are more orderly, we feel better. We are living more in line with how God made us. And this book teaches us habit. And it does so in a very interesting, positively forceful way, right? It basically has you read over these 10 scrolls for 30 days each. And it gets these ideas into your head. It forces the ideas into your head. What are some ideas? The first one is you just create habit. You create habit by reading these few pages of each chapter every single day for 30 days, 3 times, in the morning, in the afternoon, before you go to bed. And you get into habit because habit is like, we're all creatures of habit. Are we creatures of good habit or bad habit? Generally bad habit. So let's force the bad habits out by creating new habits. That's scroll number 1. Number 2, it says, I will greet this day with love in my heart, right? You're coming to each day with love in your heart. It's helping you create that. Number 3, I will persist until I succeed. It's a determination. It's a level of determination. It's turning you into a strong person, a powerful person. And then this one is funny. It says, I am nature's greatest miracle. Now, that kind of sounds braggadocious, but when you think about it, right, what is man that you would consider him, Psalm 8 says? You have set him over the angels, right? So you think of, okay, this says, I am nature's greatest miracle. God is supernatural. The angels are supernatural. Who are we? God has created us as rulers over this. We are God. We are nature's greatest miracle. It focuses on how incredible the role we have in this world is. Next, I will live this day as if it was my last. It's a good perspective. How do we live each day, right? And then next, today I will be master of my emotions. That's a powerful thing. Next, I will laugh at the world, right? Don't take it too seriously. Have enjoyment. I will laugh at myself, okay? And then I will multiply my value 100-fold. What is your value? How are you being an asset to the world? Not just a consumer, but a giver. And then finally, it talks about, well, the second to last, I will act now, right? We can have all the right values, but if we don't take action, what value are we actually? And then finally, the final one actually teaches us to pray. In this book called The Greatest Salesman in the World, the final one gets you in the habit of calling out to God. So it's not strictly a Christian book, but boy, it is a powerful one. Next, I've talked about this one a lot. I won't talk about it too much more. I'll link the sermons again down below because this is Martin Lloyd-Jones. He talks about spiritual depression. This book is an incredible one. I'll share more about it in other videos. I already have, but it's just like a continual source. I can make 1,000 videos off of the content and thoughts in this book. Get it yourself. Listen to the sermons. Go to mljtrust.org. You can find the whole sermon series there, or read the book. Really good. The other thing is, how fast-paced are we? And we don't get time to slow down, to think, to make ourselves have a sound mind. Because when we are in a depressed state, we are despairing. And when we are despairing, we are not, we're sinning. That's really what depression is. It's a sin. Now, it's fought on from many different avenues, from many different angles, spiritually, emotionally, physically, right? I didn't just pray after I ate too much sugar, more sugar than normal, right? It was a celebration. You got to enjoy some cake, right? I didn't just pray. I thought right, and I took some medication that I know will help me, a supplement that I know will help me. But also, Kevin DeYoung's book, Crazy Busy, read this, because if we are so busy in life and we don't take regular seasons to slow down, to reflect, to appreciate, to think, to build our right thinking, then we are going to be way more prone to depression. Another book, Ordinary by Michael Horton. Super simple concepts, but it talks about how the ordinary life is the one that so many of us live, right? There's the extraordinary life where somebody has this crazy conversion story and then they become this amazing missionary, right? And it's like, I can't do that. Yeah, you're probably going to just live a normal Christian life. But the ordinary Christian life is sometimes the hardest because there's zero spotlight on you. You don't get praise. You don't get focus. You feel like a nobody. It's the hardest, but it is the most potential to glorify God because you're receiving your praise from him and not from anybody else. Anyway, really good book. Read this. It just helps with your perspective on life and what you might struggle with on the day-to-day. And then this is probably one of my favorite books. This is called One Thing by Sandstorms, and the subtitle is Developing a Passion for the Beauty of God. If we are so focused on ourselves, and this is one thing that Martin Lloyd-Jones points out about people like you and me who struggle with depression, we so much focus on ourselves so much of the time. We don't focus on who God is and how incredible he is and how he does work all things together for good, and how we don't see the positive side of things. And so if we can get ourselves to focus on the incredible beauty and amazing love, character, person of God, then that gets us outside of focusing on ourselves, focusing on what we should be focusing on, and the entire perspective of life changes. So I'm going to read some awesome things, not in this video, but in other videos from this book that's hopefully going to be really encouraging to you in your battle. And I'll end with reading a poem from this book that I've got on PDF, and I'll link it down below. I'm pretty sure you can still download it for free as a PDF. It's a collection of poems called It Can Be Done. It's collected by a guy named Scott Brown. These are super old poems, but what Scott does is he writes a little kind of like intro to each poem. And sometimes those, honestly, are like more powerful. They hit me even more than the poem. This one is called Hope. And it's so fitting because, again, the channel name here is called Hope Over Despair. When we are in a depressed state, we are despairing of the potential of God to work, of the bright future that he's created for us. We are seeing that the difficulty that he's putting us through is like our attitude is despair. Instead, we need to hope. God puts everybody, including Jesus, including Joseph, including Esther, including Nehemiah, including Jonah, including Paul, including Peter, including every single person. Moses, pick a Bible character. They went through crazy difficulty. And through that difficulty, Job, crying out loud, through that difficulty, God proved himself glorious. Is he going to do any different than you? If he doesn't, if he gives you just a super simple, smooth life, he's not using you like the people in Scripture who he really, really used. Is that what you want? You just want a life of ease? We need to understand that God puts us through difficult times. So let's have hope in those difficult times. Let me read this poem to you. So here's Scott Brown's kind of intro to this poem. You ready? This is called Hope. Gloom and despair are really ignorance in another form. Ouch. When I have despair, when I am gloomy, when I'm depressed, really that's ignorance in a different form. And I don't say that lightly because I've struggled with depression. And I only got through one sentence. We'll get through the rest. I struggle with depression. I know what it feels like. But hopefully you're in a state where you're in your sound mind right now. And you can look at yourself when you're in that other state. And you can say, yeah, that's right. That's just ignorance in another form. If you don't see that, keep refining your thoughts. Because that's what it is. It's ignorance in another form. Here's an explanation of that. They, people who are in gloom and despair, they fail to reckon with the fact that what appears to be baneful, negative, problematic, often turns out to be good. Here's some examples. Lincoln lost the senatorship to Douglas and thought he had ended his career. Had he won the contest, he might have remained only a senator. And we know who Lincoln went on to be and what he ended up doing. Praise God for that man. Life often has surprise parties for us. Things come to us masked in gloom and black, but time, the revealer, strips off the guise, and lo, what we have is blessings. Isn't that incredible? It's not even the poem yet. That's just Scott's explanation, intro to this poem. So here's the poem. Never go gloomy, man with a mind. Hope is a better companion than fear. Providence, ever benevolent and kind, gives with a smile what you take with a tear. All will be right. Look to the light. Morning was ever the daughter of night. All that was black will be all that is bright. Cheerily, cheerily then, cheer up. Many a foe is a friend in disguise, many a trouble a blessing most true, helping the heart to be happy and wise, with love ever precious and joy ever new. Stand in the van, strike like a man. This is the bravest and cleverest plan, trusting in God while you do what you can. Cheerily, cheerily then, cheer up. And it's written by Anonymous. Go back to that line. Morning was ever the daughter of night. What's that mean? Well, every night is dark. When you're in depression, it's dark. But remember, after every night comes morning. I hope that helps.